Hello and welcome to the Human Quotient. Um, World talks about AI and we talk about people capabilities. We believe that humans and human capabilities will continue to evolve. And today we have a very interesting topic which kind of talks at the intersection of both. And I believe the what we are going to discuss today will be helpful for a lot of people out there who are looking to build sales teams, who are looking to build sales capabilities. I believe that there are three very interesting things that have happened in the last few years. The first is during COVID, a lot of people realized that you can leverage inside sales and consultative sales, and that is a mechanism that has enabled us to do the second thing, which is a lot more companies are looking to do global sales from where they are, right? Right from identifying who the right people are to driving the sales end to end. Companies, product companies, SaaS companies from India and other places are looking at global markets. They're setting up teams who can cater to those global markets. And the third thing that we are going to also talk about is the emergence of AI. And with the emergence of AI, the entire way we look at doing sales possibly can change. It is already undergoing change. So to discuss that, we have a very interesting topic and we have a very interesting person. Samir is joining us today. Samir brings years of experience being doing sales, leading sales teams, and developing GTM strategies with companies like Oracle, Whatfix, SignEasy, and currently Samir is a senior vice president of revenue, of growth, and global sales at Animaker. So first of all, welcome Samir to this conversation.
Thank
And
you, Sudhanshu.
no, I just want to understand, being a global sales leader who has built global sales team. Now, how important do you think it is for salespeople and sales teams to build capabilities alongside adopting AI tools in the modern sales process?
Well, firstly, hello to you. Welcome everyone who's joined. Pretty excited to be part of the session today. Um, Coming back to your question, I think we have to look at this question from an angle of the evolution of sales over the last decade,
Yeah.
particularly. And when I say that, what I really want to say is that now sales has got a lot of tools that can assist them in doing better sales. However, uh, what has also done is that many sales reps have kind of lost the core skill of sales. The basic skill of doing a lot of self research. Trying to set context to their purpose of sale with a confidence
Yeah.
backed with that research, and also working with customer objections and figuring out their best responses, etc. Right. So I feel it's more important to understand how much to use these tools with their AI features, along with
Mhm.
the core sales, skills of a sales rep. And I think that piece is probably more exciting now. How to bridge both of them together, like have the tools, but also understand that the tool is kind of giving you an edge, but the
Mhm.
core delivery has to happen, and the main machine is the person. It's the sales rep.
Absolutely. Well, while we talk about AI, but at the end of the day, whether it is retail sales or enterprise sales, it's still people buying from people. Those
Yeah.
buying decisions are made by people, and it's driven by people. So we need to think of abilities that you have on a personal level, as to how can you personally build rapport, create, do research. So we'll talk about the entire sales process, right from, say, thinking who's the right person for me, finding the right data, to doing an outreach. We'll talk about challenges at different levels and how AI can help us to doing an outreach, making those connects, pitching, uh, objection handling, to deal closure, follow up. So sales is a process, and you have conducted multiple classes with us on how to optimize these sales cycles. But say if I take example of AntWalk, and you can share your experience. This entire cycle varies and challenges at different levels. The tools that can help you at different levels, they are different, right? uh,
Yes.
so if we talk about, say, prospecting to begin with, right,
Mhm.
I feel that that is where a lot of challenge, a lot of companies face challenges, right? There was a meme that I recently saw where, being a marketing guy, I find it funny, and you're a salesperson, you'll understand that too. So there is this role play. He say that, there are three things that you can ask for, but you can't. So he's like, I'll give you a boon, you cannot ask for, you cannot live forever. And then he said, what about getting a marketing qualified lead? So he's a qualified lead for marketing. He said that also isn't something that you can't do. So there is a lot of conversation around how can companies build prospecting skills, right? Because that is
Right.
where if your top of the funnel is big is not big, if you're no if you're not outreaching the right person, it doesn't matter how many emails you send, how many calls you do,
Yep.
right? So it all starts from there. So if I have to maximize my sales efforts, right, what is the value of AI, tools like, say, Zoom Info and Clearbit, and how does AI come into this picture?
So, to your first question, why is it important for sales team to be more smarter, and sales leaders or leadership to actually, or even companies, right, at whatever stage of growth they are at, to really recognize why we need to change. So, and particularly when we talk about SaaS tech sales and the evolution of such products and this
Mhm.
market in totality, right? What has happened interestingly in the last couple of years, 10 years, 15 years back, or rather 10, 12 years back, when I actually started my SaaS journey, leaving Oracle for about 6 years, very different environment, very different set of products, selling services instead of a product per se, and then
Mhm.
coming into SaaS, which was very different, right? What I realized is at that time, companies could grow easily just banking on marketing and then getting X number of inbound leads. What has happened over the last uh, 5 to 6 years, particularly, I would say, is that it's sort of like, this is what I feel. It's easy to kind of build a SaaS product, and what it's also easy. When I say easy, it's not that I'm saying it's easy to build the whole product, but what I'm trying to hint at is that your competitors are growing very rapidly. You might be new today, but in the next 1 year to 2 years, there will be at least 4 to 5 competitors who offer similar products. But the
Mhm.
worst thing for you is that they're very smart, right? So when we're building product, we build a lot of things, right? More features, more enhancements, then functionalities and core features to actually build the product, right? It's more enhancements that we focus at. So they are smart. They look at the 40, 50 things which are actually really what people are buying you for, and then they'll build those and then build more better things, right? So they come in and they take a market of yours. They'll offer lesser money because they know that they want to just take a chunk of your market easily, and
Mhm.
lesser products, but important products and lesser price, right? So it's getting harder and harder for companies to grow just on banking on the traditional inbound ways of growing, and hence they need their sales team to be more smarter as well, because it's not just person is ready to buy my product, so I'll show a demo, I'll ask you discovery question, I'll lead with the band, and I'll just go show a demo, I'll say pricing, and it's all okay, right? But it's
Mhm.
it's it's a lot to do with being involved in their process, and also really understanding it's not just your feature, but what the feature does for them to communicate that effectively, right? So just to get to that point, why is it important and how it kind of translate? That's
Mhm.
the that's why it's kind of important why we should pivot and understand more about how to use these tools. So coming back to using data enrichment tools, I would say you know while these tools will definitely provide you a lot of good info on contacts, you can check the hierarchy of the person you're targeting, the technology that the company uses to basically match if there are any capability, compatibility, etc. requirements there. uh,
Mhm.
but while all this is important, it's very important that you're able to be using this information but able to create complexity in the current process. So the pitch before you go for your feature is to understand your ICP, his role, his responsibilities much more deeper, and then ask questions which can create the complexity in his work. So for example, right, let's say if you are speaking to a trainee, VP training, uh, if you're talking to a VP training, and
Mm,
and the question that I, and maybe you have a training product, for example. So when you're doing your research, it's important to see what will you use to get the hook, right? So the hook basically starts from is that you research about how many locations they have, how many different products they have, and what each of these multiple products, multiple services, different geographies, different use cases they are solving. All this information, and then also research about the openings. How many openings they have, and how many different types of openings they have, different roles, different functions, and then how they spread out different locations, right? So now when you're speaking with him, though the information is coming from your data enrichment tools, but the way you
mm,
use it is very important, right? So the first question you want to ask them the will be around, for example, I noticed that you have multiple locations, so I'm assuming that your team, being a VP of training, would have spread across different locations. But would you handle every team that is spread across the company, or is it special, like specifically to US? Now, this is a very simple answer, a question to answer, right? And then the right when he says no, I'm focused on US. The second question you could quickly ask is, hey, I also noticed that there are like 200 openings, and I see multiple teams within 20 locations in US alone. How does your team handle these? Again, a question which is very easy to answer. It's not a very complex question. The key remains that you have to get him into the conversation mode, right? Answering mode, rather than quickly going in and dumping all your features or telling you a lot about your product, so on and so forth, right? So I think that's the balance that I would say sales rep needs to have as they get data, but they should be also contextual.
this is so important because a lot of the teams that we work with, they come back and say that the first 30 seconds are absolutely crucial, right? You either make or break a deal in those first 30 seconds. And say if you, in the first 30 seconds, you pitch your product saying, hey, I offer you this, 90% of the time the answer is I'm not interested. So
Yep.
what you're seeing is that if you start a conversation with something which a person on the other side can answer in a yes or no, that is based on the research possibly done by an AI, it just makes those that first 30 second you have already made that person answer a couple of questions, right?
Yes.
So I think that also aligns with the comment that has come, which says that this human touch is still required. The data might come from your data enrichment tools, but how are you using it effectively? How are you planning it? Right. So that is very, very important, right?
Yeah.
So the other part that I would also, yes, yes, Samir, you want to add something?
So, no, no, I was just adding to what Pallavi mentioned. And thanks for putting that comment on the chat, Pallavi. Exactly what I started with, right? While whatever information tools can provide to you, but at the end of the day, that core sales rep skill is the critical piece that will always bring in, the essence of whether you're gonna be successful in that or not. So yeah, thanks for adding that.
And you also made the point about understanding your customers, right? Um, so it is usually when you talk about understanding the customers, it is how do you make sense of the different data points that you have about the customers, right? So you spoke about, say, a client is present in 70 locations or 10 locations or 7 locations. They have this is the spread. You possibly might have all the data on your CRM or somewhere else, but making sense of that data is what is more important, right? So how important do
Yeah.
you think this data literacy is for sales professionals? Now, I'm bombarded by data, I can look up to the person I'm going to have a call with. There are YouTube videos kept there are so many things kept there, but still, how do I make, so how important do you think data literacy is for sales guys these days?
See, the way we look at data today, that's very critical. But like I said, contextual, right? Making it more relevant for the communication and the conversation that you're gonna have is the difference. So, for example, the tools can give you, the AI can give you knowledge of your prospects. It can
Hmm.
tell you, it can tell you what they are, what part of the LOB they are, and then of course you will know that what is the impact to business and so on and so forth. What products the company is selling or your account is selling, where you want to position your product. Are they multiple or not? Which market they're growing in. And these are important critical information that you should have about your prospect before you even start your outreach, right? uh,
Mhm.
and all this data is available for you, but which part of the data is relevant for you, for that particular prospect, for that particular product or the service that you're positioning, I think, and making it more relevant is very, very important. One of the things that I've always made the teams that I've worked with very, very focused at is, when you have an ICP that you want to target, I give them a simple exercise. Go. Let's say if you want to target retail and you're positioning a product which is for data science, or let's say for ETL tools. So read about people who are in that job profile that are your target ICPs. Go find at least 10 similar companies, and find JDs for hiring those people, and read about those JDs. Read those JDs and find common themes in that. And the common themes are not about their jobs, but it's actually about the KRAs and KPIs for which they've been hired for, right? Or they will be hired for. And
Mhm.
now once you have those should be going in your emails on, email one, subject line two, email two. And the whole idea is that as you keep sending these very relevant information, as I would say, keywords in your subject line or even in the body of the email, but making it very, very relevant to how your tool can help them achieve those KRAs and KPIs, right? I think that's the part that is different, where people would find a lot of value in not just having data literacy, but actually being aware of, what that data still makes sense to their prospects.
So when you talk about data making sense to the prospect, that is where that presentation of data, the storytelling with the data, and your you know so that is the other point that I want to talk also about. Is a lot of people, we have standard templates, we have decks, all of that is there, but people come back and say that, hey, I have sent this proposal to the client, I'm still waiting for a revert, right? And that is where possibly the biggest dropout in the entire funnel goes, right? So
Yeah,
personalization using data that has been that is there with you, of course making sense of that data, but using that data creatively and
yeah.
making your decks also maybe just a couple of slides, as you said, it can go in an email, but also on decks, right? So I want to understand, see, what capabilities are crucial for people to this create this personalized decks, and can AI tools also help me do that?
So yes, so there are a lot of tools available in the market now that can help you get information, create nice backgrounds, and add information there. They can also give you suggestions like create a whole deck based on what type of customer profile you're targeting, so on and so forth. But
Hmm.
one key thing that still remains, and I've observed this over time, is, and sometime when we are working with some of the companies to position their trainings, and we look at the proposal decks and all that, finally what happens is that we try to stick to like a very standard flow of the proposal deck, and while you're showing the proposal deck or the sales deck or the deck before the demo, usually people miss out on talking the story and making people come along with that deck. For example, mostly if we just follow the standard flow, right? There'll be a slide, first slide about the company, then what customers they have, then what awards they have, some case study, and then they'll jump onto the demo, right? However, what's important is to give them the story. Like example, you might have a product that's actually for L&D, for example, right? But a lot
Hmm.
of these products that we have today are multi LOB. They cut across, helping the other teams as well to accomplish some of the some of their goals as well, and not just core for that particular ICP or the LOB that you're targeting, right? So finding ways to make it more relevant for the customer, like finding multi LOB use cases in that company. So while you are evaluating for your team, but this team once implemented can also be used by other teams, right? So making it more usable. and the
mm,
investment to be more more likely to pass through. Then also current situation and what our proposal will be. I've seen that over time people have stopped putting the current situation slide. It used to be a big slide when we used to be there, or like 15 years back. Like, you have to talk about what you've learned all throughout the journey,
mm,
from what the VDR has told you, what you've learned from the research, what your information gathering has come about, and what you really feel they're here for, right? So having a
mm,
situation slide which talks about what they have right now, and then finding and relating it with what will change. Like, so for example, the way I always used to like was, like, if there are like five things you do for a company, and those are five important aspects that your product can change, you list out
mm,
those aspects that, hey, these are the five areas we've realized are impacting you today. And as you go through your demo, you come back to it and say, look, feature one was actually for the first problem we were talking about. Feature two was actually for the second problem that we were talking about, right? And this is how
mm,
it bridges the gap, right? So that sort of an approach is something that I feel is very, very critical, to add that. And also doing a lot of website research. A lot of our products today in SaaS actually help you do a lot of problem that is available on the website. Like, you can read things from the website, whether the services they're selling, or the sometime, we have products which could help you be a portal service, or maybe something that is helping you do trainings over your portal. All these things are available if you do a little bit of research. Find those use cases and make sure that those use cases are also part of your presentation deck, instead of just taking a deck and assuming that people are not paying attention to it. People are really paying attention to your deck, and I think that's the first thing that sets an impression. So I would say, changing a bit of the way you're interacting on your deck is very, very important. And in fact, Animaker also has a PPT to video converter. So you can take a standard PPT after your presentation has happened, you
mm.
convert that into video, and you send it over to a customer, right? So the deck now becomes very easy to consume. You can just make him hear the deck, or look through the deck as a video, because you can add things on over and top, and then add text to speech and so on and so forth. So I would say there are multiple tools available. It's just how to use them, and how to use them intelligently. I think that's
Yeah,
also available. It's a two-way street.
yeah, yeah. And so the one that so we there is one part of the deck that we speak about, and the other part is also about you putting your genuine self out there. I've seen the best of say for example a personal connect works better, better in terms of say some people responding to you, but
Yeah.
SDR, as a sales rep, how do I balance this? How do I bring say an authentic storytelling also to with automation? Now say for example you spoke about the video converter, but is there a
Yeah.
way I can balance the two in how I
Yeah.
present
So
myself to my clients?
so I would say automation and authentic storytelling is completely is dependent on the stage of the prospect. So we
Okay.
have these inbound leads, we have leads coming from webinars, we have leads which are event leads, where a person has met your team and then came onto the sales cycle, maybe spoken to an SDR, maybe booked it directly with the sales rep, right? So every stage is different, and the way you approach that becomes very, very critical. So for example, if you have an outbound prospect, right? So this is a person that you reached out to. He's not looking out for a similar product. He's not looking out for even, he doesn't even have any money to put into this or budgeted for this project. When you're talking to someone like that, what they need to see in your deck, or in the conversation that you have with them, is
Mm,
that they need to be sold the company. They need to be sold in terms of what you have done, why you have expertise in that domain, what sort of use cases you have solved, and what sort of similar use cases that your prospect has that you can help them with. And then how easy. One thing I always tell people don't talk about is post sale scenario, right? How
mm,
easy is it going to be to adopt your product? Very less I see people actually talking about this on your sales prospect calls, is whether you have a CSM function or not, right? What is the
yeah.
onboarding implementation configuration step that will be followed, even when you're talking to the customer? And I'm talking about the fact that this might be your first call with an outbound. I'm not saying he's into your sales cycle also, because for the next step, he needs to really be bought into one, the idea of where the product will help him and the use cases and the features. But more importantly, when I go back and now discuss with my team and come back again, what will
Mm,
be there that to be excited about coming to the next demo round, right? Or the next detailed round with most of the, or other people, right? So that's where it's important to talk about, how much time does it usually take from sign off to go live, right?
mm, mm,
And then so whether there are integrations required or not, and if they are, how easy will it be to pass through, your security checks, and is it required to have certain compliances in place, right? So a lot of this piece should also go into your conversation, depending on, like, if you're talking to someone who doesn't know you at all,
mhm.
versus maybe an inbound lead, where you need to position what the need is right now, what they've already discussed, what sort of a budget they have. So then you need to do, you need to map the demo according to what they are actually looking for right now. Also, what competitors they would be looking at, because in outbound you're not looking at competitors at the moment, right? You're looking at the other things that I spoke about.
Yeah. Let's talk about something that I think a lot of sales companies talk about a lot is how you pitch the product, how do you structure your conversation, the negotiation, the objection handling. It is the, what do you say, the action part of the entire sales cycle where a solution architect or your growth guy, they're making the pitch, and there are different ways to now make the pitch as well, right? But say if we talk about pitch, right? um, how has AI, how can AI, I wouldn't say impacted, but I would say how can AI help me augment my skills, right? I know there are a few tools that can give you some feedback and other things. How has your, first of all, is how impactful do you see some of these tools, how and how can sales professional possibly use them well?
So yes, I mean there are a lot of tools now which are helping
Mm,
sales rep in improving their sales skills and sales cycle. Also,
yeah.
these are tools which are giving you real time feedback while you're on the call. This also
Mm,
analyzes your calls, records it, and then gives you back feedback. It also looks at what the tone and delivery of either your prospect or yours is while you're on the call. So I would say it's transforming a lot, and
mm,
these tools definitely give you a perspective to your prospect, and to what you and how you do your sales, and then of course improve on that, uh, and also in a less pressured environment sometimes, rather than having a very live mock call situation with your teammates, and that's not always good and exciting for new guys who are just onboarded in your company or your team, right? uh,
yeah.
but I would say, so these tools are really good in terms of being on live call and getting alerts, and also to get post call improvement in terms of keywords that they have picked up. So I would say there are a lot of good tools out there that people should use and evaluate,
Mhm.
depending on what type of help you need. And I believe you guys also have a chat tool that does something similar, right? That you can mock your
Yeah.
conversation.
So we are working on a tool which we call as the AI practice corner.
Hmm.
What it enables is sales team to set up scenarios with some prompts, and then you can practice just as it you would do with a customer. And you can create those situations. Say for example, if you're selling to a home loan guy, a person who wants a home loan, or somebody who is looking for a, and the beauty of AI here is it helps you kind of create those situations easily. It
Hmm.
helps you be multilingual at the same time, right? When you talk about sales teams, you might have sales team which are proficient in English. You might have customers who are looking for a different language. So, this is something that, let me very quickly. It is not the best version that we have, and we are still working on it. But this comes out very, very. We took a, mm, you know, we took a conversation about home loans, and
Yeah.
we tried to do a simulator where we are trying to do that in Hindi. Okay, so the Hindi is a slightly tricky language for the AI to adapt, but it has still done a good job. It's just if you go through it, it's some of the things that you would
नमस्ते
find.
रिया, आप कैसी हैं? मैं श्री पटेल
Mm.
हूँ और एक होम लोन समाधान की तलाश में हूँ। हेलो मिस्टर पटेल, आप कैसे हैं?
मैं अच्छा हूँ, धन्यवाद। मैं एक 2 BHK अपार्टमेंट खरीदने की योजना बना रहा हूँ और मुझे होम लोन की जरूरत है। आप मुझे किस प्रकार की सहायता प्रदान कर सकती हैं?
ये सुन के बहुत अच्छा लगा मिस्टर पटेल, आप घर लेने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। डेफिनेटली हम आपके लिए होम लोन की व्यवस्था कर सकते हैं।
See, this is a very simple thing, and this conversation can stretch. This is a 5 minute conversation. This can be easily converted into a 30-minute conversation, and multiple nuances can be brought in a conversation like this. And then it is like, you and I, we have conducted a lot of mock sessions with our people, right? When you
Yeah.
either hire a trained folks or you're multi-skilling in different products, talking to customer possibly is the best way to practice a pitch, objection handling, negotiation. You can create personas. You can create a tough customer who's haggling a lot. You can have a very relaxed customer. You can have an irate customer. All that scenario building, and you so it becomes very easy for sales leaders and even the L&D teams to use it to train these your sales reps. So this is something where we have developed a tool. It is something that is under progress, but we are practicing. We have implemented it at certain clients and it has worked out well. It helps you do it at scale. Then you don't need, if you want to put your 300 people onto a simulator like this, you can easily do that.
Good. No, that's exciting, and I think that's what we were talking about as well, right? That there are a lot of tools available in the market that can actually help you do that, and not every time you would probably uh, get the most comfortable environment to improve yourself, right? So yeah, I mean, a good step towards that.
Yeah, it is also, you spoke about giving feedback. So you can define multiple rubrics, different parameters on which it can be. You can look at certain keywords being used, right? uh, Now AI is evolving where they can understand the sentiment around it as well. Say, to not to a great extent, but say they can understand if you're using words which denote that, hey, if my customer is getting angry, am I getting a little frustrated? Are my responses not accordingly, right? How can you bring things like empathy? How can you bring things like customer centricity? So AI is evolving for us to evaluate those finer lines as well, right? So these are very very interesting things, that we have. And it so conversation objection handling, of course, is one part. There is also, we all suffer from sales cycles getting elongated, right? So sales
Mhm.
cycles forever and one thing that happens is a lot of people start saying ghosting, my client is not responding to me, and all of that is right. So there's a very important aspect post you have sent a proposal. There is a very
Mhm.
important uh, period where you have engaged with a client. You feel that the conversation has gone really well. You need to still nurture that lead. You need to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
So here my question to you is around the capabilities required. So there are some people who are very good at, whether it is human, whether it is, and we'll also talk about how AI can help. But what capabilities do you feel are important for these follow-ups, these nurturing to work for a salesperson? And is there AI? Is there where somewhere AI can help me do this as well?
So, see, there are definitely ways that you can use AI. There are tools like sequencing tools available. There are tools who are creating emails for you. There are tools which can also trigger different emails depending on what the reply or what the response of your prospect has been. So yes, there are ways that AI and automation tools can definitely help the sales rep engage with their customers and basically keep in touch with them. I would say the key also remains that what are you learning from all of this, right? The big
Yeah,
challenge that usually sales leaders find or managers find is that the reps will then just rely on that to do everything for the next level also. And I think
yeah,
that's where the challenge is, right? You have created a sequence and you'll feel that the sequence will do everything post that, right? There's no learning happening. You're not revising. You're not looking at which email worked well better for me, where I'm getting more clicks, where I'm getting more responses. What should I change, and how should I overall improve the this journey with my prospects or my existing customer or the lead that I'm working on, right? So similarly, but I would say the key thing is also not to annoy your customers. Like once most of the work is done and you're following up, one of the art I would say is to find find ways that customers respond to you, right? You don't have to
Yeah.
be in a position where you're just following up with customers. I would say the important aspect is that so while all this is happening, I would say the other thing is information that you already know, right? So I have sent a basic problem that happens with sales reps or CSMs or anyone who's really wants to get an answer from a customer is asking the same thing. So if you send a contract, if you send a quotation, if you send a QBR deck, you want to have some feedback, there's no
Hmm.
need to ask the same thing again and again in the email. Like, I've sent this to you, when can I have your answer back? Because you know that, if the customer is really looking forward to buying your solution, then he will get back to you, right? And if he has decided not to buy from you, it doesn't matter how many times you ask him, he will not either respond to you on time or tell you when it's already too late, right? But
Yeah.
there are ways that you can still find different ways to ask the same question rather than directly asking the quotation, for example, right? So what usually some of the ideas could be that everyone knows that when you're selling to a customer, there will be an onboarding that will happen, right? So rather than asking, hey, I sent you the quotation, you said you will sign, but I'm still waiting for it, can you please tell me, I need to tell this to my manager, so on and so forth, right? You can always write an email saying that, hey, end of the month or end of the quarter, arriving that time, we start to give our priority list to the customer success team leadership, where they prioritize all the onboardings that are going to happen. And I pretty much would like you to be on that list before a certain date. So is it okay if I give him the start date to be like 2 weeks from here?
Hmm.
Or maybe the second line could be, if I have, let's say, a proposal that I've sent, and I could say that, hey, you know what, these are all system governed approvals that happen. And, for me, if we miss out the date that I've already put in,
Hmm.
I'll have to go through the entire process of approvals once again to get you a new quotation in hand. Is it
Hmm.
okay? I can still have a chance to extend the date.
Hmm.
Is it okay if I extend it by 2 weeks? Like different ways to get answers from the prospect, instead of just asking, hey, when can I have it back? Or, I hope you looked at the proposal, and so on and so forth, right? And I find them very funny.
Yeah. So I in fact sometimes get, this is my first follow up, this is my second follow up, this is my third follow up. That it's just a chain of follow ups on follow ups that a lot of people end up doing. But yeah,
Yeah.
it is right. And when we talk about mm, so we spoke about this part of making it more authentic. We can use certain things that you shared, right? And is if we talk about negotiation and post sales engagement, this is what we are talking about. Uh, are there certain skills that help sales team close deals also? Because deal closure, it is, if you ask a salesperson what their biggest pain point would be, they would possibly come down here, that I have a very interesting call, but that deal never closes, it goes on forever and stuff like that. you know so what negotiation or decision making capabilities do you think sales teams need to close their deals effectively? So we're talking about the entire sales cycle. This is the crunch moment. Now you have had a wonderful say
Yeah.
conversation. You have heard out there. You have possibly, so what capabilities do the sales team need here?
So, this is something we keep talking about, but I think it's a very simple way to understand why sales reps do not close, or some sales reps are much faster closers and are consistent closers,
Mm,
closing deals, versus the other, right? Now, to coming back to the AI component, there are a lot of tools available in the market, that can actually help you create proposals, create contracts, streamlining them, knowing what is happening with your proposal when they go out or when you're creating them. Also, but one of the things that I feel really really will help you is what has happened before you send the code. which is very critical, right? If you've got the right understanding of which competitor were you dealing with and been open about it, what to send in your proposal against that, right? How to counter what will come when you're sending out the proposal. I think that piece is very critical to understand, right? Then knowing like people, I mean, if people will say, yeah, it's standard, right? But knowing what their procurement process will is still a very important aspect to know before you send it out, right?
Mhm.
Also, how many levels of eyes will be required for it to be reviewed before it actually goes through through closures. And if your contract actually has influence to all the stages or not, that is also important for you to know, to basically have all these before you send out the contract, so you can forecast better, you can also run better, you can help your guy better, or your champion better to actually get that approval for you, right? I'll tell you an example. One of the things that I find people don't do is like really understand how can they help their contact to help them win the deal. A lot of time I've seen when we are discussing deals, I've sent the quotation, and it is he's sent it for proposal, and my question is, so what have you sent to him to help the proposal, right? Or help
Mhm.
propose your tool and get the approval? Well, usually I just send the sales deck, right? And I've sent the quotation, right? None of these things actually help you, but have you really discussed the 4 or 5 areas that he spoke about, why he needs it, and why he wants to implement this, and have you given proper ROI against those? Or like I said, right, the implementation time frame, his team's adoption, and the ramp up on our product, and so on and so forth, right? So it's also important to send along a lot more supporting documents that your, or a short form of the entire set of information sometimes the sales reps would send out to a prospect, instead of shortening everything to one
Yeah.
deck or a document that he can just forward it to his to his manager or his stakeholder to get the approval, right? I think those are also very critical aspect that people sometimes don't understand. Mostly people think as I move through the sales stages, I'm winning the deal. Like the customer came on a demo, the customer will like the demo, the customer asked me for a quotation, I send out the quotation, he asked me for a pricing, we did a little negotiation, now he's with it's with the customer's legal, it's for review. All these things are just sales stages, right? He
Yeah.
will be doing the same thing with one of your competitors or two of your competitors if he's really serious about buying this product, right? But how much
Yeah.
are you involved in the process is the key in better negotiation and closures.
So one thing that I have observed as well is while we sell to the POC or the person that we are talking to in enterprises, talking especially
Yeah,
about enterprise sales, right? Sometimes what the point that you are also making is that person has to sell it internally to get that process in place, right?
yeah,
So you have done your bit of selling your product or your service to your POC. It can be you're talking to a marketing manager, if you're talking about a marketing automation tool. Now how are you enabling that person to sell it internally is what you highlight. I might have shared my proposal to the L&D guy. That L&D person needs to take the approval of the CHRO. Finally, it will go for a financial approval to the CFO. How am I influencing that person by the internal buy-in is what where that value add can come is what
yep,
you are saying, right? So I think
yeah,
this is a very important part. Most of the time people say that, hey, I have shown my product, I've given a demo, I've sent the deck, I've sent the pricing. Now it is for that person to decide. It is usually that person is getting multiple approvals inside his company and come back. And of course, and
yeah,
one other thing is there are always now more than one competitor for the same thing, right? So he might be just they would be evaluating multiple options. How can you influence even when you're not in the room? So say for
yeah,
example, your marketing manager is taking your product, talking to the CFO that this is what I want, right? So that is where the ROI that calculator possibly that's saying that, hey, this is what my product delivers for you, right? So if you are influencing a purchase decision even when you are not there in that room is where you can help your negotiations which are happening offline. So I think that is a very very valid point. There are also AI tools. Uh, where do you see tools like say DocuSign or Sign Easy kind of help reduce friction in this process? Is there the way they can help uh, uh, sales professionals as well?
There is a very interesting uh, you know uh, very interesting thing that I was doing. I actually did a webinar on this 2 years back.
Mhm.
We see, looking at e-signature tools, right? I think it's all about getting smarter over and over, right? When you look at some of these tools, I see that just e-signature tool looks like an e-signature tool, right? We just send it out for signatures, right? But if you see how these integrations have happened with these signature tools, for example, if you have a Salesforce integration or a HubSpot integration, what it does is that in your deal, when you send out an e-signature tool, one of the things that you ask or can ask through a e-signature platform, I need to know all the people that are going to be reviewing and signing this document, right? So what you've done is you've just pretty much figured out the entire sales buying process from your prospect, right? And once you've done that, you also know where it's stuck, and according to that you can follow up according to that person.
You can clear your value prop as well. Yeah, yeah. I think there is some internet issue at Samir's end. Samir, can you hear us? So effectively, what Samir is telling us, how do you use those e-signed documents really well? If you talk to your POC saying that, hey, who all will be part of this signing process? Can I add them all before getting it signed? So then you have a visibility of their entire buying decision. Hi, Samir.
Hey, hey.
Yes, yes, I can hear you now. Yes, yes, it was very interesting what you were sharing again.
Okay.
So
I
please continue. Can you hear me?
I got it now.
No, I think there's some internet. Your voice is breaking, Samir.
Really? Yeah,
It sounds a
okay.
lot.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are
Okay.
talking about how all the stakeholders on a e-sign. You can use an e-sign platform to get all the stakeholders involved beforehand. You can, and it can help your closure process.
So the thing is, it's just an easy tool, but the way it works is that you can actually take that tool, take that process, review the signature, the process that is going to be with your contract, and then you can use that to your advantage. Like, get to the level, you don't have to go main point of contact and just keep following up with him. Right now, that all these can be easily put into a flow, and you can talk relevant person to relevant person.
Okay, great. No, this is something that I find it very, very interesting, right? And of course, so now we have spoken about the entire sales cycle, and thank you for sharing your experience, Samir, on this. My question finally would be, around, you know, uh, especially for the startups, for the sales leader in companies who focus a lot on outbound. What would your advice be? So, what is the key for growing startups, growing teams while they're setting up their sales team? So, Samir, if you can hear me, uh,
Can you hear me okay, Sudhanshu? I don't know. I think there's
no, it's
some
totally fine even if
issue
your
around
camera
this
is on.
area.
Uh, I'm okay with your camera off, but yeah, I can hear you fine. Did you hear my question?
Oh, okay. Yes, I think I heard your question about what's the overall key for startups right now, right? As they're setting up their sales team.
Absolutely.
What we discussed earlier as well, I would go back to the same thing, Sudhanshu, is that it's important to just what we discussed earlier, right? The transition of SaaS tech and companies, how they're buying, how they're evaluating. I would say personally that it is a very, very easy time for sellers to sell and position the market in the market, in front of the prospects today. As versus what we feel outbound is hard, or as we feel sometimes that inbound is hard, or prospects are not buying. I would say they're much more aware. Like as a sales leader, I get so many emails and I get so many messages either on LinkedIn or on emails or on calls, to, putting putting your product in front. The challenge is that, and I know that it's easy to evaluate SaaS products today, and so is for everybody else mostly. And it's, gone are the days when we had to go back and ask the procurement team to give us a list of products available, and they will do the evaluation, and then they will let us know which one we can buy, and so on and so forth, right? But today, if I need to buy a product, like let's say any AI product for my sales team, I can just search for it in the browser, and I can get a list of them. I can even go and create a trial. I can even test it out. I can even
Mhm.
get the pricing from the website, right? So, and I know how many new tools are coming up for whatever part of the part of the enterprise and the different LOBs that the products are made for, right? So I think the key part that remains is, when we are hiring today, it's important that we set up outbound skills and research skills and the understanding of enabling and positioning your product, being prepared with your product's feature, capability, ROI. I think all those skills are very important to when we hiring people. And then of course implement tools that can help down cut sales redundant activity time, right? Like if you can have a tool that can automate calling or improve that, then implement those tools, right? If you can help them to improve the list building activity, then make sure you have a tool like that in place. It's things that can give you easy. They can research for you, give you anecdotals and give you suggestions. Try to use those things to quicken the process of coming to your prospect first, and then start building on the other things we've discussed about.
Yeah.
How to be contextual, how to custom in their approach. And I would say managers should take a lot of lead in these using these AI tools. It's not always good to just let the rep only figure out or just use those tools, right? I think managers should take the lead to evaluate what AI tool, which part of the tool, and what part of the AI capability of a tool that they have, and how to use it effectively. I would say those are the things that at the end, a good mix of AI info but human intelligence. I think that is important to assist with code correction and get real time updates.
Well, this should be music to ears to a lot of sales leaders, right? Um, what essentially being discussed is people are now more open to buying through outbound methods than they were possibly 10 years back. And
Yep.
there have been companies who have made outbound work. So while you're building up your sales teams, there is, of course, the processes that as a salesperson, sales leader, you set up, but also the kind of qualities, capabilities that you look for in your sales team, that is important. So what you're pointing out, Samir, is it's a very, very different mindset take on outbound sales, right? Um, we've talked to a lot of companies where they say that, hey, outbound, it's a tough battle and all of that. But what you're saying, it is a lot better than what it was, right? So I
Yeah.
look at it with a lot of positivity, and right. And at AntWalk we essentially do that, and you were talking about the capabilities, right? So at AntWalk we have a capability of end-to-end driving sales transformation. We help organizations build academies end-to-end, whether you are in account management or in enterprise sales or territorial sales. Say if you talk about enterprise sales and you're hiring for, say, account executive, what are the kind of capabilities required, and we have broken it down uh, to functional, behavioral, and operational capabilities. And so there is just a lot of nuance around building a very, very effective sales team. And we are, I would say, we are fortunate to work with close to 100 companies, wherein we have helped them build their sales academies end to end. And with that experience, we have built this wonderful, what we call, success profiles or skill taxonomies, and where you can look at what are the different capabilities required in a salesperson. And we also look at how to can leverage AI in sales? What are the capabilities that are impacted, augmented, displaced by AI? So it has been a wonderful journey for us as we are wrapping up this 2024. It's been 5 years doing what we have, and it has been a wonderful journey having association with wonderful sales leaders like you, Samir. So thank you so much for sharing your inputs on this conversation. As we wrap this up, any final thoughts that you have around, while you have shared more than enough? One thing that I would like to understand, which possibly necessitates another conversation. You spoke about outbound, right? But very quickly, as we set up a context for, say, a platform for the sequel to this, where we will possibly talk about outbound in greater detail, what are your tips to sales leaders or sales leaders looking to build such teams?
Couple of things that we just covered in the last question. Um,
Mm,
but it's more important to be realistic. It's very important to be realistic. Make your sales team be aware of the importance of research, the importance of understanding who they're speaking with. Also understanding that it's not just sending emails, but it's also making it more relevant for themselves. Today the world. I keep telling people that if you in any organization, this is actually a line that I just told someone, and actually came out to be pretty neat. That that it should, when you're working in a company, make sure that there's something adding up to what you were before you joined that company and while you're in the company before or till the time you leave that company, right? So it should be more it should not be an experiment, but it should be an experience, right? And that should keep adding to it. So going ahead, leaving it, I would say it's not hard to sell nowadays. It's just
mm,
that we've not trained people enough in terms of being more smarter and being more humane when they're communicating with prospects. I mean, I get emails from people who just copy paste and send stuff here and there. They don't even know that you're not supposed to sell an ETL tool to a sales leader, or sell like an HR tool to a CEO who's not even into that space. So I think those are the things that if people can focus down on and use certain these AI tools that are available, and make sure that they are sharp when they're training them, right? I mean, I'm not saying anyone is a bad or a good sales rep, but you can always be a better sales rep from wherever you are, right? But I think if we can focus that and be very aware of the evolving market outside, the competitive, the pricing war and all those things, I think it's not really hard, but it just needs to be a little bit more confident about where you stand and be more aware. So yeah, that would be probably my thought right now.
yeah. And you're wrapping up this conversation by talking about research skills and confidence in the sales teams. So thank you so much, Samir, and for all those who have joined, thank you so much. It is our constant endeavor to bring leaders from different walks of life to share their thoughts, and that is what AntWalk is all about. So all those who has joined in, thank you so much for joining, and special thanks, Samir, again for sharing your thoughts.
No, it was a pleasure. It was just good to always share what you keep saying to your team, sometime maybe to a larger one. So I think it was a good time. All the best to everyone out there. All the best to you guys, and thanks for inviting me, Sudhanshu. Always a pleasure. So look forward to and more sessions like these in the future. But all the best.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, and I do look forward to talking to you once again. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.